Welcome to section 6.4. In this video, we are going to begin to expand a little bit more on solving linear equations, and we're going to add another step to this. So basically, what we're going to learn in this video is something called like terms. Now, you might have heard of this before, because it is a widely used word, especially in mathematics. And we've already been dealing with like terms all the time, and we've actually been combining like terms, which is what we're going to learn how to do in this video officially, but we've already been combining like terms, so hopefully this won't be too much of a confusing concept. So terms are pieces of an expression that are separated by a sum or difference. Now, if we remember from Unit 5, a sum, that means addition, and difference, that means subtraction. So basically, let's say we had the expression 6x plus 3 plus 4x plus 7. So looking at this expression, we have two like terms. This 6x and this 4x here, they are both like terms. So I am just going to underline these two terms in blue, and then this 3 and the 7 are also like terms. So I will do green, because green is my favorite color. So looking at this here, one thing I do want to point out is that these like terms, we can actually combine them together and simplify this whole expression. So we can combine it, this 6x and this 4x, and then we can also combine this 3 and this 7 to simplify. So if we simplify the expression, let me write this out here. So if we simplify this and we combine this 6x and 4x, we're going to have, so I'm going to write this in parentheses. So we're going to do 6x plus 4x, and then we're going to add the 3 and the 7 together, or we're going to group them together. And then once we add these through, we're going to, so 6x plus 4x, that equals 10x. And then 3 plus 7, that also equals 10. And then here, this is our simplified version. So this is as much as we can combine, because as I said, 10x, or this here, this 10x cannot be combined with this 10. And we've already been dealing with that, so that should come intuitive for us. But yeah, so with that being said, now that we understand what like terms are, let's begin to apply that to solve some linear equations when we have multiple terms. So looking at example 10, I encourage you to pause the video. Actually, this should be example 1, but I encourage you to pause the video and work through it on your own to see if you can get to the answer. So assuming you have given it a go, let's work through it. So what I want to do first is I want to add the 3x and 2x, because they are like terms. So I'm going to add this 3x and this 2x. I'm going to put that in parentheses so we know what we're doing first. So since we know that we're going to add these together, 3 plus 2 is 5, so we're going to get 5x. Then we're going to add that 3 and set it equal to 10. And then from here, all we're going to do is solve for x like we've been doing. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. These 3's cancel, so we're left with 5x equals, and then 10 minus 3 is 7. And then from here, to get x all alone, we're going to divide by 5 because it's being multiplied by x. So x is going to equal 7/5. And that's our answer. Looking at this next example here, I encourage you to pause the video and try it on your own. And assuming we have given it a go, let's work through it. So the first thing is, I should have done this in the first example, but I'm going to do this now. So I'm going to identify our like terms. So first, let's look at the first term, which is 7. And then now that our first term is 7, let's underline the other like terms that are like 7. So we have 7, this 3, and this negative 12 here, and this 18. And then our outlier, our only outlier is this negative 2x. So we are going to want to combine the 7, 3, and negative 12. And just be careful, we don't want to combine this 18 because it's on the opposite side of the equation. So we are only worried about this combining like terms on the same side of the equation. So to do that, we're going to do 7 plus 3 minus 12. Put that in parentheses, and then we're going to subtract 2x and set it equal to 18. And then from here, when we combine, you're going to get negative 2. 7 plus 3 minus 12 is negative 2. And then we're going to subtract 2x and set it equal to 18. And then solving like we would for x, we're going to add, we're going to add 2 to both sides. So these 2's cancel. We're left with a negative 2x, and then 18 plus 2 is 20. And then from here, we're going to divide by negative 2. So x equals negative 10. Looking at this next example here, this one's a little bit more tricky, but I encourage you to pause it and see if you can give it a go and get it correct. And assuming you have given it a go, let's work through it. So let's first underline our like terms. So looking at this first term here, we have a 7x. So we have to find any other terms that have an x attached to it. And it looks like we also have a 2x here. And then we have a negative 3. And then we also have a 4. So these are our like terms. Now, this one's a little bit different than the first couple ones we've done because we now have an x on both sides of the equation. So what we want to do when we run into a situation like this is we want to get these x terms on one side of the equation. So what I'm going to do to get both those x terms on one side of the equation is I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So we got 7 minus 2, which is 5. So we got 5x, and then we're going to bring down this negative 3. These two x's cancel, and then we're going to bring down this 4. And then now from here, we have 5x minus 3 plus 4. So we're going to solve this equation like we usually would. So these 3's cancel. We get 5x equals 4 plus 3 is 7. And then we're going to divide by 5. The 5's cancel. So x equals 7/5. Looking at our next example, it's pretty similar, except for it's just a tad bit different, but I encourage you to give it a go. Now let's work through it together. So, like always, let's underline our like terms. We got a 15 and 23. And then we got a 5x and a negative 7x. So as usual, or as from the last example, we're going to want to combine our x's or get our x terms on one side of the equation. So to do that, I'm going to add this 7x to both sides. So we got 15 plus, and then 7 plus 5 equals 12. So we got 15 plus 12x equals 23. And then from here, we're just going to solve for x like usual. So we're going to subtract 15 on both sides. These 15's cancel. And then we get 12x equals, and then 23 minus 15 is 8. Divide by 12. And then we get x equals 8 over 12. Now, before we circle our answer, let's reduce this fraction. So what number can we divide both these numbers by to get these to reduce these numbers? And we can divide both 8 and 12 by 4. So we're going to divide both these by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. So I'm going to write x equals 2 over, and then 8 divided by 12 is 6. And actually, we can divide these one more time. So if we divide by 2, then we get x. Here, let me write the final answer over here. So our final answer is 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then 6 divided by 2 is 3. So our final answer is x equals 1/3. Okay. Now looking at our last two examples of this section, I encourage you to pause the video and give it a go. Now let's work through it. So this one's a little bit more complicated, but that's okay. So I'm going to underline our like terms, or all of our terms with an X. And then I'm going to underline all of our terms that do not have an X. So from here, like I said in the first examples we've seen up here, we want to combine all of our like terms on one side of the equation. But here we have like terms on both sides of the equation, and we also have more than one like term on one of these sides. So to simplify this one, what we're going to do is we're going to combine like terms on one side of the equation until we can't anymore, and we're going to also do that for the other side. So in this case, for this one, all we have to do is combine this 23x and this 3x on the side of the equation, and then we're going to bring that plus 16, and then we're going to say equals 18 minus 8x. And then once we combine 23x plus 3x equals 26x. And we're going to say plus 16 equals 18 minus 8x. And then from here, we have a 26, well, we have two x terms, or two terms with an x. So we're going to want to get one of those to the other side of the equation. So just so I can mix it up a little bit, we can, so far I've been just adding from the left hand, or to the right hand, from the right hand side to the left hand side of the equation, but we can also subtract this 26x to this 8x. So we don't necessarily need to always add 8x to 26x. So I'm just going to mix it up a little bit by subtracting 26x on both sides of the equation. Now, I will say, you can, if you were to do this, if you did this problem on your own, adding 8x to both sides is completely okay. That is still a correct way to do it. There's just a couple ways to solve for this. So I just wanted to show that to you, just so that way you understand that there's more than one way to get to an answer in this one. So we're going to cancel out this 26x. So we're going to be left with 16 equals 18 minus, and then 8 minus 26 is going to be 34. Well, negative 34, I should say. Negative 34x. And then from here, we're going to solve for x like we usually would. So we're going to subtract 18 on both sides. 16 minus 18 is negative 2. That equals negative 34x. And then we're going to divide by negative 34. So we get x equals a negative divided by negative is a positive. So we just have positive 2 over 34. And if we reduce that, we can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. So we're going to get 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then 34 divided by 2 is going to be 18. 17, my apologies. Wait, let me make sure I'm doing this correctly. Yes, it's going to be 17. There we go. So let me write this over here. X equals 1 over 17. Okay. And then looking at our last example, this one's a little bit different, but not too bad. This one's actually the easiest one in my opinion. So I encourage you to pause the video and try this on your own, and now let's work through it together. So we have, these are our x terms, and then we have our other terms over here. So we're gonna combine this 52x and this negative 20x. So we're gonna do 52x minus 20x. And then we're gonna combine the 16 and the 4. So 52 minus 20 is 32. So we got 32x. And that equals 16 minus 4, which is 12. We're going to divide both sides by 32 to get x on its own. So we get x equals 12 over 32. And then we're going to simplify. If we simplify, we can divide by 4 to both the numerator and the denominator. And we will get 3 over 8, or 3/8 as our final answer.